You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, hanging with you guys this morning. Well, hope you guys are having a great week. We know that we are out here probably not getting that much work done because looking at the 10-day forecast, we're getting nothing but rain and snow showers here. So I'm actually shooting this podcast the day after Launchpreneur Academy Live, which was our live event up here in Novi, Michigan, and we had just under 400 freaking people up here. It was incredible, and we got the little after party, the afterglow here, hanging out with Caleb and Brittany Auman. They came over to our place, actually are coming in like a white knight on a horse, bringing breakfast, thank God, because I don't think I really ate yesterday, and Liz and I are pooped exhausted, but Caleb and I were just getting going. We were just actually coming off of a two-part episode podcast here. So we actually did today, the first part of this podcast dropped on Caleb podcast. And the name of the podcast is, Caleb?
The Kid Contractor Podcast.
Kid Contractor Podcast. And I'm like literally one of your biggest fans here on the podcast and in real life. So I'm actually really excited about doing this podcast episode here with Caleb. The ladies are actually in the other room taking care of baby Em and Grace, who did amazing.
Yeah, she was awesome yesterday. That was so cool.
She did amazing at the whole show. Super cool. And
I think she was enthralled with it as much as everybody else was.
Yeah, dude, she was.
That was a big experience, right? Like that's a big event for a baby.
She, like on basketball, they call it like the sixth man or whatever. I think she was like the ninth speaker out of 8 because everyone wanted to come see her.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like I should put her on the marquee.
When Britt wasn't like stealing her away or whatever. That gives Britt baby fever, something terrible. But
yeah. Well, no.
The almonds are done at 3 for the record.
No. Yeah. Well, there you go. Well. I have a whole dad joke right there, but I can't say it probably. But anyway,
it's your podcast, whatever.
Yeah, there's unfiltered, and there's also getting canceled. You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to ride that line here. But anyway, it's a funny joke. Ask me in person. But anyway, so we did a first episode here on the Kid Contractor Podcast. So this is actually part 2. So if you guys haven't listened to Caleb's episode this morning, sincerely hit pause because there's a little bit of context you're going to miss if you don't listen to the first part. Then come back to this episode and check it out. So. We're doing a kind of like the part 2 from Caleb's, and we're talking about the speakers that we chose for Launchpreneur Academy Live. So on Monday, you guys heard the recap of Liz and I talking about just the show and the speakers. So you kind of got our first little dissertation there, but we wanted to talk about why we chose to have the people in at Launchpreneur Academy Live this year. And we didn't just, randomly invite 8 people. And frankly, last year we didn't randomly invite, 6, 7 people. And the year before that, it was intentional. We wanted to literally look at the lay of the land, see all the different speakers out there and all the different people who are business owners and see what are people's strengths? What do you guys need? What are we trying to do here? And so there's a lot of folks that we could invite. And just because somebody wasn't invited in for the record, it doesn't mean they bombed from a speech the year before or they weren't important enough to be there. It's really none of that. Frankly, I would love to do a 3-day, success conference about lawn care, landscaping, hardscaping, because I think there's that many good people in the industry where we could for hour after hour after hour just be talking about best practices, business, and success. So when we're talking about the speakers that came through, Caleb, do you want to go through the lineup one more time just to get people back up to speed? Because who did we have up first?
Yeah, so and don't let me miss anybody here because it was a killer lineup. Like all the years have been, man. It's just seriously crazy.
Yeah.
First off, we had Greg Woodstock. And I say we as if I had anything to do with this. I just showed up. So you and Liz put in all the freaking work.
Well, me, Liz, and Brittany, apparently.
Yeah, Liz, Britt's a lieutenant now in the chain order here at command, I guess. But so Greg Woodstock leading off, right?
So we'll just go through them, I guess, in order. Because Greg Woodstock, if you guys don't know, Aquascape and ponds and pondless water features. They are over in, I think, St. Charles, Illinois, if I'm not mistaken, but it's somewhere over there, just in like the West Burbs. I think this year, what did he say, $60 million company?
They hover right around there. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
Well, not only that, but it's the growth the last few years because they actually regressed in 2008, the economy collapsed, all this mess. So they went from 50s, 60s, and Greg has shared the story, back down to 30s. But then I think it was like 30, 35, like 42, and then they're tracking like 50 to 60 million. In the last 48 months. Talk about just pouring it on. And he attributes a lot of that to social media, learning about marketing, building teams, empowering people. So that's actually why we had him in. He has 160 teammates for his company, running a $60 million organization. And it was just cool to talk about. That's what he talked about the whole time, was building the right people, getting the right team of people, empowering people. I think, quote me if I'm wrong, but you talked about how in your speech, Greg talked about Greg's customer's expectation was, let's say, a 4. Greg's expectation was a 10. And then he hired his guy, Ed, who did a pond, not as good as Greg at a 10, but Ed did it at a 6.
Yeah.
And so Greg's like, this is ridiculous. This is not up to my standard. But to the customer who was expecting, let's say on this graph, a 4, Ed did a 6. Greg realized something really quick. I don't have to be the man.
Right.
I can empower other people in my organization because Ed obviously overexceeded the customer's expectation, and a light bulb went off in Greg's mind, 20 years ago. Holy cow, that's one of the secrets to business growth. So that's one thing that I thought you referenced that in your speech.
Yeah, I love it. And that is probably that's not probably. It is the biggest hang up with owner operator guys trying to get that next guy.
Yes.
Right? Is you're going to operate at 110%, right? And
you own it.
Yeah, it's your baby. And so you can't and so I go ad nauseum at this about this all the time on everywhere I talk anyways. But the number one thing is like guys expect their crewmen to care as much as if they were an owner. And the reality of it is they're not going to. They don't have an equity stake. Gary, if you need some actual other, gravity proof of this, like Gary Vee talks about this all the time too. Like,
yep.
You can't expect them to care like it's their baby. It just doesn't work that way. And so the sooner you recognize this, which is why Greg's a $60 million man, he recognized this the first time he delegated something of like, okay, I run at 110 and, Ed put in something at 85, 90%, which was perfectly fine at industry standard for a homeowner. They get it. They're like, this is perfect.
Yep.
And it was immediately like, okay. And then 20 years later, he's a $60 million man. It's like, he figured that out. And that's the biggest hang up with lawn care guys, hardscaper guys I know, whoever.
Yep.
They expect what they're going to put into a project, and it holds them back forever.
And so look at the dynamics of a lot of you guys maybe listening to the show, and look at what my company is at. Most of the people at the conference are 0 to $1 million, 0 to 5 years, maybe 0 to 10 years. So there's a lot of the folks that we need to learn that. We need to learn how to empower people.
Well, that's what was so awesome with Greg, too, and I cut you off, Brian. I'm sorry, but this gets me really excited. Is like, that's the thing. We had all these guys in that are $20 million men, $60 men. Trisha, she has a $60 million real estate firm, but everything they shared applied to the guy doing $41,000 this year, or $440,000, or $60 million. Like it's all that is how you get there, and that's what's so exciting to me. They still broke. It wasn't all high level crap. It's stuff that's applicable to the owner operator out there, the part timer, you name it, and that's what is like. So cool. And at our little company's at $1 million a year. And Greg is talking about things that I'm trying to do to get to $2 million in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's all about empowering your people and trusting. And by the way, that's going to come with some real kicks in the knees and the shins and falling down and stumbling around. But he said, everybody deals with that. So you're not alone. That's the big thing. And so that's what gets me so fired up during this thing of like, dude, it's applicable to anybody at any level. Just how you plug that in your own freaking brain is up to you.
And in any business.
Yeah.
Whether you got a pizza shop, right? Because that's a reference, or a car washing company,
or a bridge construction company. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It's all applicable. That's why you got to go get this stuff and plug it in your head.
One of the things that I really took away, and if you guys were there, you enjoyed it. By the way, here's your whole plug. Don't miss next year, right? And I know there's some real life stuff that's going on, but if you're choosing to go make $500, vacuuming leaves or doing some pruning job or investing $200 into your education for your future for your life, this stuff will pay huge dividends for you.
Absolutely.
Choose the conference next time, guys. I'm just trying to tell you, I had work to do. You guys have work to do, but if you haven't made the decision to come next year, make the decision now and figure out the rest along the way. Because tickets are going to go on sale next summer. You'll get the whole, the cowbell will be, making its noise. But make a decision to come, and don't make a decision to never miss one ever again. But one thing that I took out of Greg's speech, not to do the whole speech for these guys, but was he said something like, you're going to lose 50% of the people that you do train. You're going to lose 50% of your people, but if you have to train you have to train all your people. So you're going to lose some, but if you don't train people and you keep them, your organization is going to be just sour.
That was one of Josh Sutton's biggest takeaways. Buddy of mine, a hardscaper, it came out from Kansas City.
He said it way more eloquently, by the way.
But he did, frankly. But
he had a great quote on the screen.
but that was one of, and I was really worried. I was like, man, Josh's a hardscaper down in Kansas City, and I'm like, man,
shout out to Josh.
Yeah, right. And so I'm like, man, I wonder what his opinion of this lawn care, launchpreneur thing is. Like, I'm really, And dude, he had 10 solid takeaways from the whole show, and that was one of them.
Wow.
Of like, you're going to lose half the people you train up, but that other half are going to take you all the way, right?
Yes.
And it's just like, That's the thing. It's the biggest thing of like, well, what if I train my people and they leave? Well, what if you don't train your people and they stay?
That's probably what he said, the line.
That was actually from my professor, Dick Ansley, when I was in college. That was his line. But it's, again, an iteration of that, right? Like,
But how many people are hiring their first or second guy and like, man, I'm not even going to train this guy. He's not even worth the time to train, or he might just leave me for another guy. But it's like you said, what if he stays? What if he stays for a little while and he's not running at, like you said, 90% capacity?
And Ballard even said that yesterday. He's like,
well, we'll go right in the Corey.
I know, right?
Corey was number 2. That's your transition.
Dude, this got me so fired up.
Moving this thing right along.
Corey Ballard, man.
Yeah.
Dude, the more I get to talk to that guy, gosh, he'll say stuff like up there on stage. He's like trying to figure out the clicker, and he's like, well, I'm kind of dumb. He's $30 million worth of company. It's like, yeah, okay, buddy.
Which elephant in the room, and he talked about it. I'm hoping we could share the
I wasn't
story.
going to broach this. I was going to let you do it if it
well,
went there.
he shared that he had just sold his company about a month ago. So he sold it. He's still actively involved for a few years, I think he said, from stage in the panel. I don't know numbers or anything like that, but you can look up their company. I mean, they trend in all the top magazine publications for 20 plus million or whatever. For
he was on I believe the LM 150 list, which is top 150 companies in the country.
20 plus million or something, right?
I think the threshold. Yeah, you're right. I think the threshold's like 12 or 15 million.
Yeah, so
something like that.
He was like number 30.
He's way over that. Yeah, he's in there.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So he just said it was the right time in the market, the right time for him and his family. He's also got the Ballard products that a lot of you guys do, the Bryant's 10 code and all the accessory products. That business is booming. I think he just wants to focus on that. I mean, like let's just be honest. He's been doing this for 25, 30, 35 years. He's probably ready for a change, and that's totally cool. But he did share a story how that just goes to show the heartstrings of these folks is that Corey goes, the day I sold my company that morning, he said he was in his truck for 20 minutes just bawling his eyes out like a little kid.
He said it was all morning.
Yeah.
And I could empathize with that.
100%.
Like we're just saying, it's like it's your baby. We built this thing for 30 freaking years to be a huge machine, by the way.
Right.
And I totally empathize. And I'm so happy he shared that. It's really cool because everybody in the room knows what they put into their companies and could totally...
He took it the whole way. Nobody's going to argue that he didn't do 10 or then 20 or then 30 million or whatever, right? And but he talked about the interesting theme was he was talking about empowering people, how to be a better leader. I asked him, I said, the whole premise of his being there, I said, Corey, you got 200 people at Perfect Cut looking at you, another dozen people looking at you at Ballard. I said, you've had thousands of employees over the years. I said, what's it like being the point man? Right? People are looking to you for leadership. People are looking for you for decisions, tough decisions, right? When to grow, when to scale back, when to invest, when to buy, when to this. And Corey's in coaching and all this other stuff through his career. And I just said, can you talk about being the point man? And he talked about raising up leaders in his company and building good company culture. And I think the biggest personal quick takeaway, I guess is the best takeaways of LAL, right? But his the best takeaway was...
Which, by the way, doesn't even scratch the surface the whole day. I mean, the whole freaking day. It's insane.
Well, he said his best recruiters and advocates for their company, their tribe, are their own people.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool because he talked about a bunch of stories of somebody would leave Perfect Cut for $2 more an hour and get the promise from some other company, and then they realize that company doesn't pay or that company doesn't have good equipment, and then come back and
grass isn't always greener.
Yeah, 100%. So he talked about how those people were the biggest advocates for Perfect Cut, and those people then became the lifers, which is great for
lifer advocates.
Yes.
For Perfect Cut.
And so I was like, man, that's so true because you got to take care of your people, man, and it always just comes back to taking care of people.
That was one of the kind of, and one of the things that hit me was, he was talking about, you mentioned, well, it's just a temporary employee we're hiring or somebody, and Corey said that, I'm going to paraphrase, but he's like, why are you even hiring that person?
Yeah.
And it's
that was great.
Man, that's so, and that's, God, I love talking, and that's the thing, dude, it gets me so fired up, I can't even talk hardly, Brian.
Yeah, he was talking about filtering folks on the front end so you don't have to deal with as much junk on the back end.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's like, we do different, all these different questions. And I mean, let's all be honest with you. I don't know about you guys, but there's many times where I've said, hey man, meet me at the job site at 8 a.m. and we'll start you at 15 cash. If you work out for 2 days, I'll put you on payroll.
Dude, everybody's got that story.
Everybody's got that story. And then sometimes you don't know what you're going to get. You get the guy off Craigslist, you get your buddy off of Facebook, or you bring your friend's friend and
guy off the curb.
Yeah. And somebody shows up in flip flops and gym shorts and you're like, all right, bro, get the wheelbarrow. Like, hopefully nobody with a, from OSHA zips by, But we've all been there. But it was he talked about so much stuff. We're not going to give away the whole conference, obviously. But Corey did an amazing job.
Brian, you couldn't if you tried.
There's no way.
Dude, it went on for 9 hours. It was insane. And people sat through every bit of it, too.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, it's getting late in the evening. Nobody moved.
That was the crazy part. I'm like, you guys got another 20 minutes for the panel? We went a little bit long to like 5:45, and people were like, yes.
Yeah, and you'd be foolish frankly, you'd be foolish not to. And you know how disappointed I'd been in the crowd, like, no, we want to go home. We don't want to learn anymore.
I got to get the Applebee's.
Everybody sat it out.
That was crazy.
And that's smart, by the way.
Well, it shows the hunger that you guys all have listening to the show. By the way, me too. I came to my own event.
Dude, I didn't want to leave. Yeah. I go there to listen, man.
Dude,
if you ever get smart and stop having to speak, dude, I'm still coming. It's a crazy value.
Who said that? Jeff Joyner said that. He goes, it's funny. He goes, people think, because he's got all the books in his library, he said. I guess we're already jumping to Jeff. But
I'm sorry.
But no. I'm
this is what to expect with Kid Contractor Podcast. No, it's a mess, folks. Brian keeps it organized.
Jeff, the motivational speaker, said, and he did a whole speech about saving America. And but he was like, people come over his house and see his library and they go, oh, you have all these books, you think you're really smart? He goes, no, on the contrary, I know I'm so dumb. That's why I had to read these last 500 self-help books.
That was a killer comment.
He goes, but the interesting thing is you meet a bunch of people that think they're smart and they don't have any books. And then they're the ones that are, ironically enough, usually not succeeding the most in life. But
the smartest people I know realize how little they know.
100%. Yeah, that self-awareness.
Yeah.
That was me going to my own conference, by the way.
Really, yeah.
So we had Greg Whitstock, amazing guy. We had Corey Ballard in. He did amazing. Keith Kalfas. I actually missed a little bit of Kalfas' talk at the beginning. I was just doing photos or something in the hallway there. But he talked about action cures fear. But he broke down what action is, and he also broke down what fear was. Did you get to catch his talk?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was. And yeah, there were a few people I was not going to miss.
Yeah.
And those first three guys were three of them. And I guess not that I'd miss any of them, really.
Yeah,
but
just me and Liz. It's okay.
Yeah, I hear you guys blab all the time. That's no sweat. But Keith Kalfas, that was there's incentive fear and the fear you run from. And then there's the opportunity you run towards, essentially, right? And that was eye-opening to me, too. It's like, yeah, that's true. If you're just trying to outrun your past, which I did for 10 years, I know all about that, or are you running from something or running towards something? And that was like epiphany moment for me, too, by the way.
Well, one thing, too, was that, and I heard you on your podcast rant, I think it was Random Notes and Rants or something like that, like 2 weeks ago Friday, the episode, you're like, this whole try, fail, adjust thing. Right? And
just fail hard. This people just saying fail hard. That is such crap.
Well, Keith was talking about how to fail intentionally.
Right.
And I thought that was really, really good. 1 second.
I'll cover for you. So, Keith,
it went away now. There you go.
Well, Brian's like, I can't let Caleb have control of this.
Well, because he was going to go like the action cures fear thing and like just try. And I was like, oh, dude, like Caleb's going to be like, man, this is like, I just did a podcast rant about that. But it was interesting how Keith broke it down because he said it's funny. Nobody compared notes. Right? Nobody shared notes. And Keith's like, if you're just failing to fail, like that's not going to do it for you. You have to try to grow intentionally. And if you're going to fail intentionally so you learn. And it was kind of like playing off of what you said, but I don't know if Keith listens to your podcast, but you know what I mean? It was like that was one thing through the whole theme. Nobody shared notes. I really didn't give that many topics to people either.
Right.
I said, you guys are all adults. You guys all know these folks in the industry. You guys all get a lot of conversations from Instagram and comments and all the stuff on YouTube. You guys know these folks and you want to serve them. We're all going through the same stuff that you guys are all dealing with too. It's definitely not top down, but it was just cool that nobody compared notes and almost everybody talked about, helping people. Well, that was the theme.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was an overall theme, right? But that's the theme of success in general. It's like you're going to get knocked down.
Better way to say it.
And the way to succeed is to keep pushing forward and to pivot and adjust and just keep going forward.
Success principles.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, it's so funny. It's this easy and it's this hard at the same time, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's easy to say all this stuff, but you got to the rubber's got to meet the road.
Well, one thing too, just from my, I don't know, like a personal development thing or like because I want to be a better communicator, right? Like I would imagine we all way, shape, or form want to be better at not necessarily talking, but like sharing, communicating. And Kalfas he's really good at communicating. Yeah. And but like the way he pauses and like
he's great.
He builds the tension up and all this stuff. I'm like, it is a craft, and I think he's gifted in that capacity.
And he does it in a genuine way too. It's not polished professional speaker generic and whatever. It's in and that's just Keith Kalfas, by the way. Like he's been on the bottom.
Yes.
And he's got himself off the bottom, like with actually pretty much all those guys on stage, and myself included.
He put 100 in the bank, which was one of his goals.
Yeah, and he shared success, right?
Yeah,
and
like breakthrough stuff.
Yeah, like Keith is just a killer, man. I love him.
I can relate to that totally. When Liz and I put $1,000 in the bank, I'm just kidding. We were living.
Same with Britt and I. We got our $1,000 emergency fund put together 10 years ago when we were absolutely broke and on the back end of bankruptcy and stuff like that. $1,000 was like, hallelujah.
I think we did ours 10 minutes ago, but anyway, we'll keep going. so we had Greg, Corey, Keith, Trisha Dork. So Trisha is our real estate agent lady. She's the lady that sold us our plot of land. Super grateful for her in that capacity, like forever. We're building our dream property, blah, blah, blah. So that was really cool. But one thing I didn't know about Trisha was like how well she was winning in life. For real. Like, so there's always this whole like personal momentum in life, right? Like before you ever had the outward success, you have to have that inward success. Well, Trisha is a person where when Liz was sharing me about Trisha to buy some land, and she's like, hey, we need a real estate agent. We can't find anything on the internet. We can't find anything anywhere. We need a real estate agent. I'm like, I don't want to deal with a real estate agent. I've got 25 customers that are real estate agents. I got every other buddy nights and weekends hawking real estate because it's just such a hot market this last 5-10 years. I said, I don't want to deal with any real estate agents. I just don't want to deal with it. Liz goes, I found this lady on social media. You need to check her out. Yeah, because I was like, why is she different? She goes, she's like us. She's like success driven. She's a butt kicker. Her son's really successful. He plays like AAA hockey or whatever it is.
Yeah, that was the story. Yeah, that was what she was talking about.
Yeah, like he's like literally getting drafted into like the pros. He's like 18. Like just it's incredible. But it wasn't always that way. Liz goes, the interesting thing is that she grew up poor. She had no money, no nothing. She had no prospects. She started a real estate company, gosh, not more than probably 5 or 10 years ago. And I think she shared on her slides was like 90 million or something in transactions.
60 million.
60
number, yeah.
60 million in transactions in just a handful of years. 0 to 100.
Well, that was just this year. Yeah. Well, yeah, up to I see what you're saying.
Is that what it is this year?
Dude, yeah, numbers are 60 mil, yeah.
Jesus.
That's crazy.
But that's my point. Like she's a butt kicker, and she built her organization I think to 100.
She has a team of agents, of course, right?
Yeah,
she didn't sell 600 million herself.
No.
Although you could, I'm not saying that's not impossible because it is. There are people that do it, but
is it 100 people or something with her company?
100 agents under, in their firm, yeah. So
which is, I mean, she's recruiting, she's building those people up while selling and title companies and brokerage. I don't even know. I'm not in that world. But people are like, you're bringing in your real estate agent?
Right.
It was kind of like who's this?
Right.
But she gets up there and she basically... I think it's when her kid wanted to do a color run was the catalyst. Was she was not in shape. She said she wanted to get more fit. She wasn't very successful financially or their goal setting. So this last decade, really she put herself back together, and she just has all this outward success now. But she did this whole 10. What do you call it? Like a circle, talking about the 10 different ways to create a goal and set a goal and measure a goal and all these different things to create personal momentum in your life. Mm-hmm. And she was just fire breathing on stage, bro.
Yeah, it was awesome.
She did great. I think I had so much great feedback. People really loved her, and she really enjoyed the opportunity too.
Yeah.
She's like, there's this many people in your industry that are excited about life and success. I'm like, I guess. She's like, who would have thought there's a lawn care conference?
Yeah, right.
But when I called her, I go, hey, we're doing this thing. She goes, yes. I go, you don't even know what I asked you. She goes, is it for your lawn care conference? I go, yeah. She goes, I literally had a dream the other day that I was speaking at your event. Swear to God, she said that. And I go, really? She goes, I'm in 100%. If I have the opportunity, yes, 100% yes. If not, no big deal. I'd be honored. And she kicked butt.
Yeah.
She did an amazing job.
I got a great takeaway from her. Family goals. If I can interject here, the great family. She's all about goal setting, right? And how big of a deal that is.
Yeah.
1,000 group hugs a year was one of the goals they set for the family to help teach their kids about setting goals.
I heard you say that. Yeah.
Dude, I'm all about that. My kids will think that's great. So we're going to do X amount a day, whatever the math is, just under 3 a day.
Yeah.
Group hugs to hit, and we're going to track our, hey, we're six group hugs shy of our goal for the week, or this many short for the month, or we're ahead, or whatever. And
we're
gonna. I think it's great, dude. That was a great takeaway. I'm all about. That's the first thing I'm implementing tonight when I get home.
That is the coolest thing ever. But that's the thing too. You go to the conference, you're like, well, I need more X's and O's, and what's my per man hour rate? It's like, dude, having that family moment 3 times a day is going to pay bigger dividends than any other piece of equipment you're going to buy this year.
Yeah.
I mean, for real.
I was just, it's funny. Like, she gave away tons of great advice too. And I'm like, that's one thing. I'm like, man, I really like that. That's cool. That is my takeaway, right? Like, I'm going to set this family goal.
That works. And that's awesome. So we had, I think Trisha, and then did we have anybody else in the morning?
Mark Parker probably talked. Now I missed Mark because I was tied up. I can't remember what the heck I was doing. I was tied up with something.
I was there for Mark. Mark Parker works with Brian Equipment. We did safety training. It is something that, like, it's just not talked about enough anywhere. And and I know we're like go, and we're always talking about making money and hustling and all this mess. But I really do treat safety really importantly with me and Rob. I said, like, we're a small company. We don't want to get comfortable. We don't want to have bad habits. We want to make sure we establish good habits. I am always all day trying to teach Rob the why, not just the how. A lot of people talked about that. And I said, Mark, come on in. He does a banger job. Mark's a technical field supervisor, safety specialist. I don't really know his title.
He's got a crazy title.
Yeah, it should just be like awesome, hilarious safety guy.
Yeah, Mark is cool.
He's a man's man. He's got this beard. He's got this like German, like kind of like, steel, like background. I don't know. He's a man's man. He's a great dude. If you guys ever get to meet Mark Parker or look him up on Instagram, Mark Parker.
He looks like he was born with a chainsaw over his shoulder.
Really, I think his first toy was a chainsaw, like at 11
like a
months.
Real one, not the plastic rubber chain one. Like
he wouldn't put up with that
full blown logger chain. Yeah,
but he's a guy that like kind of commands your respect because he's just a man's man kind of a dude. But he's young and he's funny too. So a lot of guys really enjoyed listening to him. But he did his presentation about proper ways to start a chainsaw, proper ways to back your truck into a job site, not pull into a job site, because if there is an emergency and somebody has to throw your butt in the back of a tailgate of a truck bed, you want that truck pointed out.
Right.
He talked about getting you and your guys CPR certified or whatever, at your local fire departments and stations can help with that. You talk about that all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, I mean, safety's huge, and you guys got to realize whether it's just you or you and 5 guys, you're their leader. They're going to look to you, and if something happens where a hedge trimmer goes into somebody's thigh and somebody's bleeding out, they're looking to you. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be the incident point man. And if you're going, what do I do? Not good.
Honestly, I'm getting a little queasy here, so this looks like a good place to jump in. More about who you should go running to if you cut your legs off with a mower in just a moment. Hi, I'm Mr. Producer, and in 1 week from today, so in real time, this is Friday, November the 19th, 2021, and on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, begins our 20% off sale at LAWentrepreneurs.com. If you need the programs, resources, training courses, coaching to increase your productivity, profitability, and efficiency, then here's the opportunity to save a few dollars on the know-how that's going to exponentially grow your business, get you to where you want to be in your business even faster. If you can't spell entrepreneur, don't worry. I screw it up every time myself, which is why the link is in the description. The promo code ALLIN20, that will save you a couple of $100 on the whole ball of wax. And motivation, M-O-W, motivation, that's the code to save 20% on the other items. It all starts Friday, November the 26th at LAWentrepreneuracademy.com. And let's see, how do we I got it. Here we go. Now back to more fun with tourniquets on Fullerton Unfiltered.
Actually, this is something that but Rob and I are going to do over this winter is go figure out how to get CPR certified and trained and all this stuff, because I'm like, Rob, like, dude, no offense, I don't know how to do this stuff, bro. Like, if you get hurt or I get hurt, other than like slapping a little Band-Aid on there with Spider-Man, I don't know what else we're going to be doing here. Yeah. And you guys just talked about this the other day with your crew. The tourniquets?
We have regular site meetings. We've got 5 full-time guys, so we've got regular site safety meetings. Yeah. And at the shop or on job sites, we've always got fire extinguisher on every truck, every trailer, every job site, tourniquets.
Yeah. Fire extinguishers behind the driver's seat.
Yeah, we try to systematize basic things like that, and that's probably not the proper just caveat. Yeah. I don't know that's actually where you're supposed to store them, but it's where we store them, because that's where every guy on our company, you ask them where fire extinguishers, drive behind the driver's seat.
There you go.
And that's where everybody knows to go get it. The tourniquets, passenger side door box, every freaking truck.
There you go.
And everybody knows where to go when something. And so, like, learn how to use a combat application tourniquet, CAT tourniquet. You can buy on Amazon. I'll tell you, we all know somebody's been hurt in business, be it, just with head shears, or, a construction accident. The thing is, like, you are the first responder.
Yeah.
Really, at the end of the day. And, like, you need to have this basic stuff spoken with your guys and do it. Like my firefighter buddy Bill says, he's like, You don't practice to get it right. You practice till you can't get it wrong.
Right. Like if somebody wakes you up at 2 a.m, shakes you, you better know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. But even more than that, like somebody gets hurt on site, dude, your mind changes and you get this adrenaline dump of like crazy, and you just need to be able to robotically perform the Heimlich maneuver or CPR and whatever. And this stuff isn't hard. That's the thing with it.
I don't know if you know the episode number right now, but you are the first responder.
Yeah.
I think it was a 2-part.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember listening to that because people are like, this title, it's always titles and like the topic, right? But it's like 5 new best equipments from GIE plus Expo. That video is going to get 50,000 views. But it's like 3 ways to make more money or 2 safety training tips, 1,000 views on YouTube.
It's the most disappointing thing ever.
It's so funny because it should be inverted. And I talk about
it
it
really
all.
Should.
But I'm like, that episode, I bet you would probably not have the most downloads compared to some of your other ones.
Right.
But it's probably one of the most important ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are the first responder. So anyway, Mark Parker did an amazing job. He was there with Bryan Equipment. They're the distributor for steel products in like the Midwest over here, 4 or 5 states. And I tell the companies, like we had Red Max sponsor the event, but probably a good thing to mention the sponsors of the event. We had Toro Horizon 360 ran out the go-kart track for us the night before. They were incredible. I mean, for real. Taylor was one of the guys there as well. Did an amazing job. We had Exmark, Sure Track Trailers with Kelly and Sons, Yardbook, and then Red Max sponsor the event. So some people are like, hey man, the ticket's $197. That's a little expensive. I'm like, well, without sponsors, it would have been $497 or $997. Which, by the way, Caleb and Brady know this too. And there's other conferences that go on in the industry, and they're $12.99 for a day.
I've paid $1,500 to go to one before. It's crazy.
Yeah, $200. If you've never been to like professional training or CEP type programs, believe me or not, like real estate agents all the time, it's not uncommon for them to spend $2,500 to go to a 1-day conference and learn best practices. And they don't even think about it. It's just regular investments into their education as self-employed people.
Yeah.
So people are like, hey, it's $197, man. That's kind of steep. And I'm like, dude.
Not even, dude.
I literally don't. I mean, the event is ran for profit, but there's not a lot of profit after you pay speaker sponsors and
you're a
AV
really
rigs.
bad businessman at these conference things.
Well, I need to get on. I need to get on LMN and do my job cost recovery or whatever you guys call it. I'm learning from the Auman. That's why we had them there. But so we did lunch. Lunch was good. The Italian lunch that was awesome. It's funny. The only thing I'll say about lunch really quick, Caleb, when we're looking at the banquet event order, the BEO, whatever they call it, it's like the full breakdown of the food, the cost. I mean, this is like a 9-page document. I got to sign off on it and cut a check for 20 large for just food. It's funny because it's like. This is just funny. I had to show Liz. There's this sentence like make Italian lunch or whatever, prepare for 364 people, and then parentheses it said, please portion accordingly for like grown lawn care men. Is what it said. Like so basically like.
You're feeding an army.
You're feeding an army, bro. Like a Russian army's coming through here. Not like little petite 110-pound girls. It was all like 200-pound long bros, like just that are wanting a good meal, in the fall. And so it was just funny. I'm like, I even want to like take a photo of that. Like that was for some
badge of honor. Thank you.
For some reason, it just was really funny. Instead of preparing 10,000 pounds of food, prepare 15,000 pounds or whatever. I don't know.
They've got a percentage in that somewhere. For an extra amount.
10% variance, right? But so that was funny. And then it was like it wasn't like the big dogs right at lunch or anything. It's just the momentum was building. We're talking about building a team and working together with people and overcoming yourself, and then setting goals. And it's just success principles. Like if you guys have ever heard me say the theme of the conference isn't to be successful at lawn care. The idea is to help you guys be successful at life. Because I told Liz this once. I said, if we just help people be successful at lawn care, they might not make it. They might have a divorce. Their kids might hate them. You may never improve or perfect. Not perfect, but improve your spiritual life. Right? If we can help you be successful at life, I think the umbrella will help you to be a better parent, a better son, a better daughter, a better husband, a better wife, a better business owner, a better everything else. Right? So I said this is going to be a lawn care conference only. Right? Like Jeff Jorney was joking. He goes, interestingly enough, for a lawn care conference, you guys aren't teaching a lot of X's and O's. He goes, it's like there's no zero-turn track outside of the parking lot trying to help you guys make straight stripes.
How to make straighter lines, yeah, right.
Right? He goes, so what are you guys all doing here? And he goes, we're talking about success and success principles. So that's the tee up for you guys. You guys were the first speakers after lunch. Mm-hmm. Usually you guys were before lunch. So everybody's nodding off. So you guys got bumped to the after lunch spot and everybody was alert and awake. What was your guys' speech and presentation all about?
Brett and I mostly talked about kind of the overview of it was making, lemons into lemonade is kind of the generic way to put it. But it was,
milk duds.
Yeah. Well, in starting out, yeah. So like, yeah, milk duds. Like, so, the premise is like, citing a bunch of, famous people, let's say Steve Jobs to Elon Musk or whatever, the failures they've gone through, which, from exploding rockets to being kicked out of your own company for jobs, that kind of stuff. And then they still push through it, going bankrupt. I mean, some of those guys, a lot of those guys I listed have been bankrupt, have already crashed 2 or 3 companies ahead of that.
Yeah.
And then also bringing it back down to it's not just these famous people, it's the people that own the company that build this podium that my paper's sitting on. And the light rack and all the stuff that you see has a company behind it that has had tremendous trials and failures and wins and all that stuff. And this is the course, this is the plight of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And so we're either going to push through this or we're going to get just swallowed by the ocean.
Yep.
And that was the premise of our talk. And how I crashed my first company 10 years in. The first 5 were good. The last 5 of my first 10 years, I tanked that sucker. And so talking about how Henry Ford had 5 failures in his company alone on top of other issues. And I was thinking man, I don't know if I could I don't think I'm tough enough to do 5 failures in a row. Right. And well, no, I had 5 pretty much failure seasons. And part of it is just young naivety. I didn't realize I was failing as hard as I was. Looking back, it's oh my God, I couldn't weather that now, I don't think. But,
right.
So that was the premise of ours. Britt did an awesome job. I drove it all over the tracks and back and forth and all that like I normally do, but it was fun. We enjoyed it. We appreciate the opportunity, Brian. It's really flattering to get up there to share stage with actual people that know what they're talking about, and it's an awesome opportunity for us.
Well, and I said this when I was bringing you guys up. Liz and I really appreciate you guys. Beautiful family, great company, a lot of things going on. Well, and as little or as much credit as you ever give yourself, probably deserve a little bit more than you think, because I think you guys do a really good job. And I know that because I'm not the only one with that opinion. Just so you know, there's a lot of people that really appreciate you guys that came up and said, Caleb and Brittany did an amazing job. I had somebody say, I think last night at dinner, I think it was Dylan Stevenson, he goes, the thing I really love about Caleb and Brittany Auman is they're honest, they're authentic, they're relatable, but their shtick is they're themselves. They don't have a shtick. They are just honest, and their quirkiness, their orneriness, their funniness together is them, and them is a lot of the people in the audience. So you guys really do relate. You keep it grounded.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the goal, the thing that I would not be able to sleep at night knowing is that thinking we're making this look easy.
Right.
Right now, the company's a good point. We make good money. The company's stable. We've got good guys working for us that are honest and show up and all that crap.
Sure.
But it wasn't easy. And I never want to paint that picture as this is easy.
This
was tough to get to where we're at, even at our little level. I say this to get where we're at, and then I think Corey Ballard's in the room. And and I was like, oh, it's such a, I'm
sharing the stage with these big dogs.
Yeah, right. I'm a pimple or I'm a fly on the horse of or fly on the butt of some animal somewhere. I'm just nothing, But like I said, you think we got a lot of great things going well, but at the same time, we never want, because we get people asking us well, I'm thinking about quitting my full-time job to go do this and that. And it's I don't want people seeing us and thinking it's easy.
Right.
Because it is not. And you quit your full-time job, folks. I quote AC/DC on all this all the time. It is a long, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
That's true.
It's the truth, man. It's tough. And so I guess that's mostly part of the self-deprecating that we do of we share our failures a lot because we just don't want to paint the picture of this is easy. And I have peers that I look up to, and I'm I fall into this but I fall into this mindset sometimes too of man, they've got triaxle dump trucks. Why am I not running triaxle dump trucks? Or why don't I have 8-ton excavators yet and stuff like that? I'm what am I doing wrong? What the heck's wrong with me? I'm a horrible business person. And I forget a lot of times just the highlight reel you're seeing, folks, and the open, being open to us is a big goal. And I'm not saying these people are being disingenuous, by the way, either.
No,
whatever.
For sure.
But it's just being where we're at as far as people asking, we just get asked the question. So I just feel like an obligation to say it's possible, folks. It's doable. You can do it. We've done it. We've overcome all this bull crap, and we still with bull crap. It's doable, but it's not going to be easy. So just buckle up. Let's do it.
And not only do you relate to the people in the audience with that, because we're all dealing with stuff too, but it was great. Like you said, your presentation was bantering off of the other folks that you highlighted that are the pinnacle of business tycoons and achievers, right? And they deal with the exact same crap. Right, their stories was very, very similar. I thought you guys did a great job. The humor is always as good in real life, in person and on stage. So
if I get to the point where I do not like public speaking, frankly, I love podcasting. But I can always sleep with it as long as I had fun doing it, and I had fun yesterday on stage. I was nervous going up there for whatever reason. Another part of it is big. Just it's an obligation to like bring value and your trust and not disappoint you, and do some bomb presentation, and not bomb in a good way either. I'm talking like flat out like not valuable, whatever. Yeah. And so that obligation is kind of, and you put no pressure on it by the way either. But it's just like we feel that right, but we feel an obligation to try to bring the heat and. And that's the only probably thing I'm nervous about. After that, I love getting up there and talking and sharing things that I hope are going to help people make better businesses.
What's it like sharing in front of 400 people that you can barely see? Because we've got some huge stage lights on you now. And,
when I walked in, I'm like, oh, we're in the wrong room. Def Leppard's playing tonight here or something. Or, that's a Whitesnake concert. Brian's got this big, crazy light tower stage thing going on. I'm like, what the heck? Some 80s hairband concert coming in.
I bought that thing, dude. Like, my AV guy, I told the story on the last podcast, but he's like, hey, dude, I'm not doing a lot of big conferences these days, because of, the pandemic. Mm-hmm. He's like, everything's Zoom and these little 10, 20-person seminars and breakout sessions. And I'm like, okay. So he goes, well, you kind of need like this thing, dude, for a stage setup. And anyway, it was a lot. No, it was
great. It looks like a professional outfit. You're finally getting your act together. It looks like a professional setup out there. So.
Yeah, I can't wait for that AV bill. The irony was, my guy Jim, who does our AV, he's an incredible dude. Before the whole conference started, we're just catching up and just bantering back and forth. And I said, hey, dude, he goes, you excited about this weekend? I go, yeah. He goes, what are you excited about? I go, well, I'm going to be honest with you. Specifically, I said the fact that my AV bill should be 1/5 of what it was last year. And he goes, how do you figure? Because last year we had 5 rooms, and this year we're all in 1 room. And he goes, oh, ha, ha, ha. He just starts laughing. He goes, I don't know if it's going to work that way. Yeah. And he goes, don't forget, I got to add those trusses on there for your bill. So that'll be a hit. But
that's like the lawn care, or you buy a new machine, makes you mow the yard faster or clear snow out of the lot faster. And your client's like, well, you were here shorter. I hope you're, I'm expecting that on my bill, right? Nah, that machine was $100,000. Not a chance,
Exactly.
No, doesn't work that way.
Well, he had 4 full-time, not full-time, but 4 guys there the whole time.
Yeah, last year was nuts.
Yeah, technicians, so that's a lot, but it's a lot. We got Dylan Stevenson.
Yep, just Mr.
Dylan Stevenson. We're going to bang on a podcast here in a minute, so I guess we got to wrap this up. We got really quick. So
There's so much more to go over,
dude. Well, okay. So from you guys who went to Pay Repeat.
Yep. Pave Pierre is the French.
Which I gotta give you a nod for the introduction, because we went to have Pay Repeat at Mr. Paver.
Mr. Paver.
I swear to God. In fact,
great story by the way.
His hotel registration confirmation says Mr. Paver. I was like, God dang it! That's like in the print is even worse, because he calls me, and he's a very like pointed dude. He goes, Mr. Brian. He goes, my name's not on the registration. Am I staying here tonight or somewhere else? And I'm like, oh, dude, I don't want to mess this up. So like, I literally go, no. I know you're on there. So I look at the thing. It says Mr. I think it's Paver and then Mr. like backwards. So like his last name is Mr. I was like, you got to be effing kidding me, dude. So I'm like, no. I said, Pete, here's your number, 1269, whatever. And so they got him his room, but he's a fire breathing dude. I've never seen him speak live. You want to talk about just throwing a Hail Mary?
Yeah, he's a bull he's the most eloquent bull in a china shop.
Yes.
Just conglomeration of professionalism, and yet off the wall, you don't know what's coming. It's loose cannon,
Yeah.
But like his presentation was great. It was stuff. I was really happy about this to see. He was doing a thing on cost recovery, helping people with pricing, stuff like that. And he had kind of an 8 bullet point thing, and man, heads went down and took notes. That was encouraging. That was cool.
I ironically enough, I'll probably say the least on this podcast about Pay Repeat's talk, because you had to be there. It's just one of those things where like it's not fair to the people that were there that paid good money to just dump it all out on the podcast. And literally, it's like some things are going to just be not said and
you
not
keep
released.
saying that, dude. You can't scratch the surface of all the great points and value that was brought yesterday. So
and Pay Repeat's the epitome of that statement for real. Like how much stuff he shared and how funny he was, and it was Dylan, how long? An hour and 20 that he went for. An hour. I'm getting that not an hour and 15 minutes.
He needed the cue. What do the Oscars do when somebody goes too long?
Get the hook on the neck,
hook, and then the music starts cutting.
But he was rolling.
It would have been funny.
He was rolling. It was good, and I didn't want to cut a guy off like that. He was doing an incredible job. It actually all worked out great, but so much value. Like you said, I bumped into a couple people. They're like, I took 6 pages of notes just from Pay Repeat.
Oh,
6
geez.
pages.
Yeah, that's
of
crazy.
notes.
That sounds like me back in the day when I was going to conferences, just notes for days, man.
But that's people were hungry to learn.
I know,
and
that's encouraging is what I'm getting at. That is cool.
It's super cool and hilarious too. I mean, he some F-bombs that were dropped.
Yeah,
for sure.
I wasn't aware that was coming, folks, or I would have kind of prefaced the crowd a little bit there, but Pete gets fired up and boy, it comes out.
Well, so I'm taking photos after the whole event. There's a dad here with a young son. He's like 12 or 13 years old. And I go, you guys have a good time? And I go, hey, to the dad, I go, hey, I apologize for the F-bombs. And the kid goes, that was awesome. This guy is hilarious. And I'm like, and the dad goes,
oh, no.
The dad goes, no, my wife's actually the daughter of a sailor. So she grew up with that. And the kid goes, my mom swears like Mr. Paver.
Oh, God.
So I'm like, oh my God. But this little dude was like, he was my favorite speaker. And I'm like,
Lord.
and I look at the dad and the dad's
Future hardscaper. All right.
I don't know what to say. So we try to keep it family oriented environment, but you're also not going to throttle a red blooded male like Paver Pete. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, those hardscapers are a rough bunch anyways.
He's a good dude. But from there, who was after Pete? We did, again, all the speakers and sponsors were there. So I think Kelly and Sons. We took a break. Did you get any of the nachos, by the way?
Dude, I got some nachos at the very end.
You got some?
Bunch of savages out there. They cleaned up. Dude, you had a great snack menu. The ice cream was more popular than I ever. The ice cream disappeared in no time.
My soul's like crying right now because I didn't get over to that room. I got stuck talking to like 10, 15 people, which is fine, which is cool. But I'm like, somebody get me some popcorn.
Dude, I looked out in the lobby and there's grown adults out there and there's like 150 people licking ice cream cones like it's like the ice cream truck just went through the neighborhood and everybody's 7 years old. It was the ice cream was a smash hit, man. It was so funny. I never would have guessed ice cream was as big a hit as it was.
They called that like a some kind of like party pack or something like that. So it was like kettle popcorn.
Oh, that stuff was awesome.
Yeah, the popcorn.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was awesome.
That nachos and ice cream and I think maybe like hot dogs or something. And I'm getting the nod from Dylan. He's like my confirmation here because I didn't get over there. I'm like, somebody go get me a plate of nachos. And then I think we were speaking after the break. So I'm like, well, I don't want to be picking nachos out of my teeth, going on. Yeah, just, that whole deal. So Liz and I, Liz came up with me. We spoke for just a couple minutes. I actually didn't want to go long. It was like 10, 15 minutes. Liz was up there for just a quick minute, wanted to say hey to everybody. And then, I don't know. I didn't actually have a speech written down. So I actually don't really remember what I said at all. Like, I just remember like...
Not sure if I was there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I was there. I asked that Caleb and Brady. I'm like, hey, did I say anything good yesterday? And they're like, it was amazing. Like, everybody says that to each other.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Whoa.
It was life-changing.
It changed my life.
I'm like, thanks, bro. I'm like, what did I say?
It was good.
I don't know.
It was at first I was like, all right, Richie Rich, where are you going with this? And because you're talking about wins, finally, some wins, right? Big wins. And I'm like, all right, Richie Rich, we get it. And then you brought it back. And it's like, oh yeah, we started out in a trailer park and life wasn't so good and marriage wasn't so good and all that stuff. And it was like, it brings it back around. And I think it's important to share, we get through this and we win, right? And that's where you brought it home. I'm like, okay, cool. Now we're bringing it back, and you're always good at delivering a presentation like that of like the highs and lows, and then all right, here it comes back around, and it all makes sense. Like, so that's your strength. You're always really good at that. So
and I appreciate that because I did not feel like that. By the way, at 3:45 when we're going up, I had about 3 notes written down on my phone, and I'm like, dude, because I mean, here's the thing. I said this when I started. I'm like, I've done it. 250 podcasts. I've probably been on another 25 podcasts. I've done 800 YouTube videos. I'm like, dude, I've said a lot of stuff. Like, I don't really know what else more to say to like motivate somebody else that like, hey, if we can do it, you can do it. That kind of stuff. But I did want to talk about the wins. You know what I mean? For just a quick minute, because everybody's always talking about the hustle and the work and forever. And I'm like the goal actually is to make some money here. The goal is to like buy the nicer coat, buy a nicer purse, have a nicer car, maybe have a nicer home. I mean, that's kind of why we're hustling here. I want to put my kids in private school, not maybe necessarily public school. I want to be able to take care of my mom and maybe not have her rely on Social Security, which isn't going to do crap for her anyway. And I think it's important that and we're not a finished product, but we've just started having some wins. And after 12, 13 years of no W's, it was nice to finally have a couple this last 24 months. And so I just wanted to paint the dream that, the bull crap is worth it.
Right.
And I also wanted to be, like you said earlier, like be authentic to the fact that Liz and I aren't a finished product by any means. It's okay to make money. It's okay to talk about winning. It's okay to have success. And I'll just be honest with you, that actually kind of just parlays right into Jeff's talk, which is we need more people in America winning.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a message. It's the audience.
You were getting all fired up when we were shutting down your episode, so this is all you for a minute. You take it away, because it was basically like good versus evil, capitalism versus socialism, and it was a very pro-America message.
Jeff did a phenomenal job on drawing a line on winning. We need people to win.
Yeah,
we need people to make money so that they can do the things that the community was meant to do in the first place, and that's take care of their fellow man.
Amen.
And so Jeff did a fantastic job of drawing a line. There is good and evil out there. There are people that want you to win and people that don't want you to win to keep you enslaved. And we need people to win because winning equals freedom.
Yeah.
And he didn't blame Democrats for the problem.
Nope.
And he didn't say Republicans are the saving grace of the nation or will be. And he didn't say they were the reason for all the failure either. What he said was the one line he drew that I thought was freaking awesome, and it needs to be done because the darn truth is like the thing we really have to fight, whatever the heck whatever we do, is we've got to stop this onslaught of communism and Marxism and socialism. Yep. And that is the one line he drew. But he, again, didn't say Democrats are responsible for this. He didn't say Republican. He didn't draw the line there. He just said there is a war against capitalism. And you can argue like crony capitalism is bad too. I get that. I want true, pure economic capitalism, right? The way it's meant, free market capitalism. That's where I'm going to plant my feet and die on that hill, that whole bit. Mm-hmm. But so now you're getting me going. So just shut me down here whenever.
Take it away, brother.
But but that was the line he drew, and he did it in a way that wasn't going to be like, if you're only watching Fox News, you're an idiot. If you're only watching MSNBC or whatever the heck other thing there is, like, you're wrong or you're right for watching Fox. You're wrong. Like, he did a phenomenal job in that, and just drew the line of like free market economics or what. And the lawn care business is such a great example of what free market economics are.
Yeah.
Right. It's customer demand provided, of a solution provided by the providers here in the room.
Right.
And we need you to win.
Yes.
And that was such a breath of fresh air to hear, unapologetically, mind you.
Yep.
And saying, we need you to win. We need you to win with capitalism. We need you to stand up for capitalism.
Yeah.
And how we know we're right? That capitalism is the answer, because the alternative of socialism, communism, totalitarianism, all that stuff, there's 100 million dead bodies to prove that's not the way.
Did you? And he showed that on screen, his phone recording.
We're going to go there?
Go for it.
Dude. So generally when I see any of that crap on the internet, right, of like, okay, so the thing is, like, if you type in how many deaths are or what is it? How many deaths under
communism or whatever.
Yeah. So you just start to type in Google, how many deaths under, you start to write communism, capitalism, the first thing it pulls up.
The predictive text.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a screen recording he's showing, right?
Yeah.
And so on the thing, and then he kept typing in communism, and it never auto-corrects or never auto-populates.
Right.
And I'm like,
zero search results.
This is one of those things you see on Instagram Reels. It's a clickbait bull crap, and it's not really. It's taken out of context. Yep. I got my phone out, and dude, this gives me goosebumps because I know Google's evil.
Yeah.
And I know those organizations are definitely...
You're at war.
Not to go...
Whether you know it or not, when you listen to this,
and dude, I typed it in, how many deaths under capitalism is what came up. Dude, I screenshot. I'm like, holy crap, this isn't one of those, like, because we all know the Facebook clickbait crap out there of like all this stuff just meant to rile you up, and which is, by the way, another algorithmic predictive thing. It's designed to do this stuff.
It's an echo chamber,
dude.
For you.
It's legitimate, and it's like, oh my Lord in heaven! Like, there is a war against capitalism, and there's not 100 million bodies dead from capitalism. That's a bunch of crap.
Well, the premise of, I had Jeff coming in because
my heart rate is like.
Well,
you probably hear my pulse.
That thumping you're hearing is Caleb just going crazy.
I'm about to burst.
Well, the only people that I tried to coordinate a talk a little bit with was me and Jeff, because I want to talk individual winning. And then I wanted to talk about why it's important for individuals to be winning, which is to save America. Because like you said, you're in a war right now. When you guys listening in, you're like, dude, I just want to mow some stripes, man, and lay some sod. We get it. But like Caleb said, you're now a participant in the free enterprise system when you have your own business. And there's an onslaught against entrepreneurship, against people, not necessarily people that are just employed, but that people that don't want you to have freedom. People that don't want you to have liberty. And he walked a very fine line. But the general conversation that Jeff was trying to communicate too was he was not only showing what you were just talking about with the predictive texting about the communism thing, but how many other things are rattling around in your brain that are based on untruths, lies, and misinformation that are guiding your life, right? Because he did that thing where he asked about a dozen questions. When was what animal eats off the ground and sticks its head
what
in the
animal
sand?
buries its head? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
What animal buries its head in the sand?
What else did he have? Was one the Frankenstein photo. He put a photo of Frankenstein on, and there's the guy strapped on the table, the monster, and actually, so he asked like 10 different questions, like what
like is sugar proven to like get kids hyperactive?
Yeah,
actually, it's not.
So he did like these 10 questions, and the group all chanted them out, the answers that you would imagine, and he goes,
"Where are fortune cookies from?" That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
really interesting thing.
And he goes, the interesting thing about all of your guys' answers is that they're all entirely wrong. And so he goes, like, sugar doesn't make kids ADHD. It's double-blinded placebo test. They've realized that has no correlation. He goes, what else? The ostriches? He goes, how can an ostrich that breathes through its nose have a head in the sand and still live? That's the dumbest thing. And he said he was actually looking for photos for another presentation once for that, and he learned about ostriches because all he could find were cartoons of ostriches with their head in the sand.
Such a crazy thing.
He goes, there's no ostrich with his head in the sand from National Geographic photos. And then he learned more that's an old myth from like Western settlers coming from Australia or whatever, and he's like, that's not at all what it is. But he goes, that was the point. And then he did the tree story, talking about the paper trees. How actually cutting down trees and printing paper is good for the environment. That's why I had him come in, just to do that speech and that whole talk. I was like, dude, you're gonna have a bunch of green industry folks here that are pro with the environment, and we want to make sure that things are going well out there. But I said at the same point, like, just the irony of people cutting down trees, thinking it's a bad idea. Nobody's, like he said, nobody's hacking down Yosemite, in the rainforest here. Okay,
right.
These are paper trees, and it's good for the environment to print your documents. So I just wanted to have him cover that soapbox. That was like a personal fun story. I'm like, just tell the tree story. He's like, what about else? I'm like, I don't really care what else you share about. Just tell the tree story. He's like, okay. But he did a really good job talking about, and like you said, he just walked this fine line. He didn't. It
was great. Wasn't calling anybody out.
Nope. He was just saying,
calling out evil.
Like these, basically, he just gave some perspective. He's like, what? And he just like, it's like one of those things, like he opens up your mind, and now it's like, like one of those moments, like now you're going home with that, and you're like, what else is going on in my brain? What else have I been learning that might be wrong? Anyway, he did an amazing job. Yeah. Caleb's over here like, it's about America.
Oh, dude, I could go, man. I could go. But we'll let her ride here.
We brought Jeff in just for Caleb, obviously. So,
dude, I think it's just so great to the pro-capitalism thing, because there is a war against the free market. Right. And granted, the free market has been tainted to an extent. And we've got to fix that, right? There's a lot of crony capitalism horse crap going on.
Yep.
And but hopefully, Lord willing, this kind of conversation continuing, hopefully we look into some free market principles, and we start to go back to look into like what it really truly actually means to be free. Because man, we've built a lot of fence around us already to where we're not as free as we used to be, and we really have got to start to reverse that course. Well, and I'm all for it.
And I think my biggest takeaway was the stats he gave out, and I'm not going to get them right, but he said 200 years ago, 94% or something like that, or 92% of the world was living in less than $1 a day poverty. Right. And then capitalism, this crazy idea called capitalism, it came around, and what was it, like 100 years later, it was down from like 90 somethings to like 80 somethings percent. And then what was like another 50 years, like 1950, it was down to like 60%. And then like 1970s, it was like 50%. And then 1995, like
2001, I think, was the threshold of where we were down to 9%.
Yeah, like the heyday level. So from 90, let's say 92, 94%, whatever he said, down to 9% in 225 years. It just goes to show you how successful economic growth has been under capitalism.
Right.
And he said
of a 5,000-year window of humanity too, by the way. I mean, it's a blink of an eye.
Great perspective.
And like all of a sudden people are freer,
Yeah.
and people are more wealthy.
Yeah.
And there's still, and that's not to downplay the strife and the struggle and the malevolence. And there's all sorts
Absolutely.
of horrible things still going on. Do not get me wrong. I don't discount that. I don't rule that out.
For sure.
You'll always have that in humanity regardless. So you need to understand that too, which is horrible. We need to fight against that, of course, as hard as we can always.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But to get down to that, the people are freer and more prosperous and fed than they've ever been. For as crappy as we think things are now, that's one thing that drives me so crazy. People lack so much perspective, and I've done now so much reading and understanding of like how good we truly have it now. It's just absurd.
The amount of red meat, the amount of air conditioned time that you get in this country, internet access, vehicles, all this transportation.
Just not being killed by raiders and plunderers. I mean, you go back.
You take it that far back? No, I'm just kidding.
No, you know what I mean. But like,
I don't need to arm a shield, and a sword.
Like you seriously don't have to fight daily for your survival, or go shoot a squirrel. You go back 75 years, 100 years, and you don't have to shoot a squirrel every day just to live. And that's why we're so off track too. We're so damn comfortable now.
That's it. Well,
we're too comfortable. We're not hungry. That's the problem. Is we're not hungry. So we're worrying about so much crap that doesn't matter. I'm done.
Yeah, no, I get it, dude. And if you guys can tell, it's a very pro business podcast, and that's.
Yes, comrade.
Yes. Well, this is the opportunity to grow my own business is what pulled Liz and I out of basically poverty.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't
same here. Hallelujah.
I mean, for real. So I do believe that way. I know a lot of you guys listening that way. Maybe you've never heard that before. That's okay. Like, don't get offended by it, but press into it. Study
Even
it.
Bono from U2 has seen the light and claims as such that capitalism he has now seen because he's done a ton of work in Africa and he's realizing that free market concepts are actually what pull people out of poverty.
So cool.
Hallelujah.
Well, guys, that's the our dissertation, I guess, again from the Entrepreneur Academy Live 2021.
To end at 100 miles an hour. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, what an incredible time. I mean,
dude, it was great.
The amount of I tried to shake hands with literally everybody. So many folks coming up telling their life story, their first years in business, second years in business, doing 20s, 50s, 100 grand. We had one guy there. He did 140,000. No, what was the Owen kid?
20 to 400.
20,000 to 400. He's like 21 years old.
Yeah, and he still had all his hair too, which is really surprising.
Yeah, he's got a big red beard. That guy, Owen something. He was really cool. We heard so many like fun stories like that. Just new people that are not even full time yet. Maybe they're just mowing grass on the side, but they're like
every range. Yeah.
They're like, this is giving me the encouragement I need to go to the next level and to go all in and make take the leap and make the jump, if you will. So it was a really, really good time. I really implore you guys to get there next year. We spent a lot of time and a lot of money on this, guys, for you. I mean, Liz and I, like, we've been blessed beyond like our wildest dreams the last couple of years. And I would guess to say honestly, like we don't have to like put on some conference like this. Like it's nothing. It has.
No, I've seen your numbers. I don't know why you do it.
Yeah, I mean it's not the most profitable event that you guys would imagine. Like, oh, you make $1 million off this. It's not the case at all.
This is not about getting rich.
No, not at all. But it's again, here's what the theme is always with Brian Fullerton. It's for the Brian Fullerton 10 or 15 years ago. That was what does Paul say? Broke, busted, and disgusted. It was for the Brian's Law.
Even Joyner referenced that. That was good, right? Jeff
got that in there. Jeff's like, go out there and cut that grass, and the audience was like,
that's what it was. Yeah, pulled the book.
He had that great little mic drop moment. But this is for maybe you're brand new in business, or you've only been around for a year or two, or maybe you've been around for a decade and you're just spinning your tires. That was me for a long time, obviously. But that's what this event is for. So. If you guys are hearing the call, you guys are hearing the message next year, come to the event, bring your wife, bring your spouse, bring your foreman, bring a couple of your guys. We had so many people that brought their crew, which I thought was really cool. And so any which way, we're going to button up right here. Thanks so much, Caleb, for
buddy. And just even hearing some of the ideas you're floating for next year, just again, even just keep ratcheting up the value. It's crazy.
Like a true podcaster. He's always like, I'm not a good podcaster, but that was a good tease. Because we were talking about some really cool ideas.
Yeah, you got some great concepts for next year, so I'm pumped for it, man.
We're gonna maybe change it up a little bit, and I think it'll be even more X's and O's driven because some people really wanted some more of that. We're gonna try to cater to that too. So we're talking about some maybe breakout sessions. We don't know yet, but some really cool opportunities there. But that's where I think we're gonna button it up, guys. If you are out there going out to cut grass tonight or maybe this weekend, or you're starting to do your leaf cleanups, especially for my weekend warrior friends, wish you guys nothing but the best. Hopefully everything works out for you guys, and you guys just make a boatload of cash this weekend, and doing some maintenance and some leaves and whatnot. But guys, that's what we got on today's episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Don't forget to check back next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Without fail, we got podcasts for you. And again, thank you to all of you guys lately that have been leaving those ratings and reviews. The goal is to get to 1,000, and I think we're at 940 or so ratings. So if you guys can look down, pop 5 stars, we really appreciate that. That's one of my selfish goals for this year, is to get this thing to 1,000 ratings for some social proof. If you guys can help me accomplish my goal too by the end of the year, that would be super cool. We got about 6 weeks left to do that. So over and out. Caleb, you got any final last words?
Go win unapologetically.
My man, that's where we're going to cut it right there. That was good, man. This guy's awesome. All right, they're over now. And on deck, we got Dylan Stevenson. So we're going to catch up with you guys here on the next one.
Hey, Brian, speaking of reviews, I saw a nice one just pop up from Austin Suggs. He says, awesome show, longtime listener, first-time reviewer. I've always enjoyed Brian's show, great content to keep you motivated while working, and he always gives you the things that you need to think about to help improve your business and your workflow. Appreciate all the hard work from Brian, and he throws even a bone here to Mr. Producer. By the way, if you missed it at the beginning of the show, what you just heard was part 2 of this LAL recap. So go over to the Kid Contractor Podcast to catch the first part if you didn't start there. And remember, big sale starting Black Friday. Get your rear end over to launchpreneuracademy.com. Link in the show description. There's just too much there for me to tell you everything that is available to you. So do yourself a favor, spend a little time browsing around, sort of making that wish list over at launchpreneuracademy.com. We will see you guys back here on Monday.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.